Okay. Now we should say we're live on your screens, yes?
Yeah,
Okay, great. Okay, so we need to talk about the 3 diversity paradigms: assimilation, differentiation, and integration. So how about if we each take one and talk about them in order, and then there's more about that. So anybody want to start?
I would rather not start because I need to pull up my stuff still.
Okay.
That's okay.
Benjamin, do you want to start, or you want me to go?
Yeah, I can. I pulled up some tabs. I could I probably should have pondered about it a little bit more, but the first one is discrimination and fairness, and I guess this one kind of gets into everybody understanding that we're equal, as in we all have, the same amount of importance. We might have different responsibilities and different things we're responsible for, but nobody's really more important. And I think in the business world it's kind of tough because a lot of the times we have business leaders who are in charge or have authority over somebody else, but I still think that there's a way that can be balanced. I mean, it's certainly done in the church and it's taught in the scriptures. So, yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no. Well, I was reading about it, and I guess this is the thing I was thinking I could give more thought to. It talks about like people feeling alienated or restricted, and I didn't know how to really go into that kind of the part of the discussion, but that's probably jumping way far ahead.
That's okay. No worries. Yeah, so that falls under the assimilation paradigm, which is the we're all the same, and it promotes fair hiring and diverse employees and all of that. But it was kind of and that's when I read that, I was like, yeah, that sounds great. I didn't think that there was anything wrong with that. But then the next one was the differentiation paradigm. Am I saying that right? Differentiation? It's a lot of syllables. Where it talks about celebrating differences and then matching diverse employees to different niche markets. And I'll just talk about that one real quick if you're okay with doing the next one, Shelley.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. If not, we'll come up with it. So anyway, in that one, when I read that one, I didn't like that one quite as much because I felt like I understand the difference between that being all the same and then saying, no, we actually have differences that are good that we should celebrate. And I liked that, but I felt like there was like, put them together. There's more to it than that. And so that's, I think, the integration paradigm. It makes the most sense to me and seems like it should just be common sense for everybody. So differentiation was not my favorite one.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm not sure if they're supposed to be looked at this way, but I was thinking like you can integrate or use these kind of mindsets in a business, like, take a little bit of each one and kind of meld them into the culture of the type of business you want to have. I don't know if that's supposed to be the way to look at it, but
yeah, I didn't really know either if you were supposed to look at it one way or another, but I felt like they built on each other. I felt like the assimilation was like what we started off with affirmative action and making sure that everybody is looked at equally and everybody gets a fair shot. And then differentiation, where not only are we all the same, but we do have specific differences. And then the third being the integration, where they kind of it built on both of those. So, Shelley, do you have integration?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time pulling this up.
No worries.
Maybe I'm not looking in the right place.
No, that's all right.
That's okay. No worries. It's the Harvard Business Review, Making Differences Matter.
Yeah, that's where I was, and I'm sorry. I'm not. Maybe I'm just trying to look too fast.
That's okay.
No,
take your time.
That's all right. I had another thought. Maybe I can stall for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
No. I think, Tammy, you were kind of talking about how at least this is what I thought, how it could be a process. And there's different ways to look at this, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking that maybe you figure out how to mix it, but I'm sure business leaders know how to, use this information in the best way.
Right.
Yeah. See, that's
yeah,
good.
And I don't know either. I don't know either if building on it is the right answer either. If you're supposed to take a little bit from each, it felt like towards the end of the article, which was very long, by the way.
Yeah.
It was a lot of reading. It felt like that. The conclusion it came to for me felt like common sense. Like you hire who fits the job profile, and you let them work in a way that works with who they are. I guess what I'm thinking is the Asian lady that used her home cooking skills to figure out a chemical problem with the soups that they were making. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I think so.
So, and how she didn't talk to her coworkers about the fact that because she's a home cook, or because she has this history of Asian cooking, that she understood without going through it chemically how to fix the problem. And I thought, well, that makes sense to me that she would know that, but it doesn't make sense to me that she wouldn't be able to share it. So I feel like maybe that's a little bit of a disconnect in the business world, that people aren't allowed to just be people, that they have to fit in a certain box for their job.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I used to work at a company that had a lot of Indian people, and I think at first they tended to just stay together in their little groups, but the more we kind of tried to reach out to each other and learn, share more about, culture and celebrate their differences a little bit. I think, like some of those girls I'm still in touch with, even though I'm not in touch with some of the other ones that were, you would think culturally I'd be more aligned with them, but because we kind of tried to just reach out a little more, we formed a closer bond. So I think that that's an important thing, that people should feel like it's okay enough to be different from everybody else in the workforce. Are you guys, do you have a page number? Because I'm still like trying to scan through this real quick and find this.
In the Making Differences Matter on page 1, it has an idea, the idea and practice, and it talks about the assimilation, differentiation, and integration paradigms.
Oh,
just right on page 1, there's kind of a little graph.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry. Okay.
No worries. Great. Well, let's talk about then the next. It says, give an example of an organization you've worked for that shows some aspect of the paradigm. So I think that Shelley did that. That was great. Then it's Melody Hobson. Did you watch the YouTube video of the lady that talked about color blindness and color, what did she call it?
Color brave, was that the one?
Color brave, not color blind. Melody Hobson.
Yeah, so Melody Hobson, she said color blindness is dangerous. Do you agree? Is she making a point similar to the one made by the authors of Making Differences Matter?
Is that for everybody or for me, or? Yes. No, I think we all agree on that. It's we shouldn't pick out race. I think what she means by color brave is that even if let's say we're white and we might feel comfortable with one another, if you're put in a situation where you're outside of your norm, whether it be race and other things, you have to be brave and confident in your own identity and know what you bring to the table. That's really what I got from it. It's that you don't you don't really focus focus on the race, and you have that kind of confidence in yourself, because even if there's these programs, and even if everything's perfect, with people not judging each other and other things, you can still kind of do it to yourself.
Yeah, I thought her talk was good. I liked the YouTube, the TED Talk or whatever it was that she did. I was a little confused with the color bravery statement. I understand that color blindness is not a good thing, that we need to acknowledge that people are different, and that it's fine that somebody doesn't look like me or doesn't talk like me or whatever. But the color braveness, and it may be because I'm not black. I don't have any color in me. I don't understand maybe where they're coming from, but to be color brave for me, I felt like what she was asking me to do was to acknowledge the differences, not just in skin tone or whatever, but also in people's lives. Hi, John, right? I don't know if he's up yet. Looks like he started.
Yeah.
You guys see him?
You there, John?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, so the next question is color blindness the same thing as discrimination?
Say that again.
I think the danger.
Is color blindness the same thing as discrimination? Shelly, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, I think the danger with the idea of color blindness, while in some ways maybe is what we think we should go to, is it doesn't allow people to have room to be themselves. It doesn't acknowledge that we might have some issues here, and how are we going to address them? Because if you don't start off from a place where we're different. Everybody in a workplace is going to have different cultures, different backgrounds, and if you don't start from that premise, then you don't allow that to be a safe thing to be. So then you sort of shut down that somebody might be having problems or not connecting with their coworkers, and you don't address it.
Yeah.
Same as discrimination, but it certainly is a place that could foster discrimination.
Yeah, good point. I like that. John, I don't know if you can hear us, but your microphone is turned off, so we can't hear or see you. So just giving you a little heads up there. Jen, what were you going to say?
Oh, no, I was going to say, I think that's a great point. That I think the big focus, like we learned a little bit earlier on, is intellectual diversity. But getting at the root of it, there might need to be some consideration for that there's race or cultural diversity that kind of plays into that, and understanding where people come from kind of helps us all to get along better. So
yeah, great point. Okay, why do the authors of Making Differences Matter believe in the integration, learning, and effectiveness paradigm as the best approach to diversity in the workplace? Do you agree? Explain why or why not. And I feel like we've covered that pretty well. I'll just say that I think that they, I feel like the whole article was written on, to me was not a hard thing to accept. I was like, yep, that's how it should be. So I don't know if that's everybody's reaction to that kind of thing, but I felt like, yeah, people should be hired regardless of what they look like. Best person for the job, no matter, who they are, and then let them do the job according to their skill set. Whether that's, a home cook or a chemist, that it's all one person. So I don't know. Anybody else?
No, I completely agree. I think it kind of gets into the application, like how you're going to apply these principles is, and I don't think it really gets into that. I think that's where it gets tricky.
Agree. Shelley, same. Oh, I can't hear you.
Is he emailing anybody, John?
No.
I saw y'all messaged him.
Yeah, I don't know.
Don't know what's going on.
All right, so moving on. Anything else that anybody wanted to say about that? Shelley? Anything?
I covered that. I agree.
Okay. So part 2, we touched on this a little bit, but color bravery. What does Hobson mean about being color brave? We talked about a little bit. Does anybody else have any other thoughts about that?
No, but I see John's microphone thing came off. Can you hear us, John?
Hi, John. I hope you can hear us. All right. What do you think color braveness should look like in the workplace? Is this similar to the integration paradigm, or is she talking about something different?
I think we've kind of got into it. Integrating is just recognizing those differences and working with one another, and that color blindness is just ignoring or not seeing any of those differences. So they're
not acknowledging it.
Yeah, so they're two different things. So okay. Integrating is better than color blindness, and I wish we kind of all could get to the point where in society where we're all colorblind, because there really aren't much of differences, but maybe that's what makes the world tick.
Yeah,
we're all different. So,
John, we can see you until you're not there, but just wanting you to know we can see you. So happy to have you here. Yeah. All right. Authors of Making Differences Matter explain that some managers are more comfortable addressing problems with outright discrimination than more subtle diversity problems. Have you ever been in a team, a group, or an organization where one person's ideas or approach to doing work was hard for the rest of the group to understand because of a difference in background, experience, gender, race, or some other thing?
Well, in my the same place I was talking about before, there was an Asian girl who did the same job as, 5 or 6 of us. And I don't know if this was just because of her culture or her nature, but she tended not to take on her, like she would do it, take care of. So it allowed some people to just be really lazy because she was really overly productive, and it got to be a problem even though she's kind of volunteered for it. Cultural thing, she was expecting other people to say, no, I've got this, and instead they were like, oh sure, here's my work. So I think our manager didn't address the issue,
And that could be, that's like you were saying, a difference in background, or, I don't, it kind of stereotypical that Asian people tend to overachieve or do more than what we would be. Yeah, that's true. Anything else? Benjamin or John, you have anything?
I don't have a lot of experience with this. I have 2 small instances. In one of my classes, it was at BYUI. There was a Spanish student, and his part of it, I kind of, after a couple times, I noticed that it was cultural, because we'd have group discussions and group projects, and he would say, you got to help me, or everybody needs to help me. And what he is essentially saying is, we can work together, but I need my space, or I need my time. And to me, as an American, when we all have these responsibilities, and everybody else was contributing and doing their part, my jerk or immediate reaction was to think like he wanted people to do his work, and I eventually realized that that's not really what he meant.
Yeah.
And another one, it was with Spanish or Hispanics too, and it was in a warehouse environment where I was an intern, and I eventually started to get to do more work on the computer, and I could and I would talk to them here and there a little bit. We didn't have a lot of interaction, but I could tell by their attitudes and sometimes what they said, they didn't understand that, you know, some people got to, you know, work on a computer, and some people got to, you know, physically work all the time. And they didn't, I don't know if it was cultural, it might have been, but it was, and they didn't really understand like responsibilities and job position. But maybe that's a part of it too. Like everybody's supposed to kind of work the same way. So they felt like they were kind of gypped. But,
and how is that handled by administration, or was it?
I don't know. I hope that they would go and talk to them about it. That there was that open line of communication. They never really asked me.
Well, I don't have any. I can't think of any time when I was up against this or felt like it was a problem. I've been in a couple work situations. We owned a company for about 15 years, a security company, and had lots of guards that worked for us from all different backgrounds and all different races and colors and everything. And I felt like my husband and I, as the owners, did a good job with diversity. It wasn't even a planned thing. It's just we hired who was right for the job, and sometimes that was a white female, and sometimes that was a black male, and sometimes it was a Hispanic, you know, woman. It just whoever was right for the job. And I don't remember there being a lot of issues as far with our employees as far as discrimination or anything like that. Not to say that that's because of us, but I think that they worked well together, and it was a good group of people. So that's my only experience with that. Let's see. Many companies still have problems with outright discrimination. Have you ever worked for or observed a company where there was outright discrimination problems? I have to say no. I have never experienced that.
No, I haven't either.
I haven't either. Not work-wise. I mean, I've seen where other employees, like guys, kind of, you know, talk or disrespect the gals, you know.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen anything actually like, you know, leadership-wise or hiring practice-wise. Or
I've actually, interestingly enough, experienced more discrimination as far as being a woman at church than I ever did in any job I had, which is kind of sad, but
yeah.
nature of the business, right? I see John's back. I hope you can hear us.
You hear us, John?
Can you hear us?
Hi.
Yay.
Hello. How are you?
I'm very fine.
That's good.
I've been trying to get up, but in fact, my network is not working at all.
Oh no.
Yes, I've been getting a whole hell of that. So how's everything?
Good. We're about halfway through our discussion on the diversity paradigms. Did you read about the Making Differences Matter article and the video about color? I keep wanting to say brand, not color brand. What's the word?
Brave.
Brave. Color brave.
Yeah.
Did you have anything to add about that, John?
With that 3 questions that we were asked to answer them, I think the first one is talking about the paragrams, and yes, and how there are 3 anyway. But I was much interested in the color brave. If I watched the video and was just fantastic. I mean, over here, from where we are coming from, our background, I think it sounds different because for us, hospitality is always at the peak of every. In fact, even if I don't know you, just a day, I can be able to link up with you, and the life goes on. So I was just following how she was actually, doing the presentation. In fact, I felt it, and I was asking myself, how does it come about that this kind of discrimination on other things like black, white, and all these things sometimes for me, I don't understand. I don't understand how it actually goes on. But getting to the later part of it, of her speech, I mean, she was also telling us that the one daughter that she has is going to, told her how it means, what it means to be a black woman in America, and the responsibility that she has, even to mingle with those people, and somehow, well, maybe things will be better for us. We are studying all these things. For us, it's different anyway. We don't see it over here at all. For us, everyone is your brother or your sister, and it's okay with us.
I love that. I think that was
so maybe great. Yeah.
I'm wondering, John, if it was surprising to you, or if you knew that the discrimination or racial tension was an issue in the States, or were you aware of that?
Yeah, I was very, very surprised about all these things. In fact, no. I can't imagine how things actually goes on like that. But it's also helping me know other culture and how other people somehow believe things have to be done. It's just it's like a belief. It's like how they have grew up with, and it's not easy to change overnight. So I mean, gradually, all of us can come to understand that we are all one, and it doesn't mean how if a black, white, we are all the same.
Yeah, that's a beautiful sentiment, and I agree with you. I told my husband, I don't. Yeah, we were. I told my husband this whole big thing we had to read, this whole article, basically for being boiled down to vice person. Like, I don't understand why we have to be taught these kinds of things, because I feel like there's not. It should just be inherent in us to just understand that we're people. We're all just people. So, also, hello to Angela.
Sorry, I got out of work late.
No worries. Happy to see you. We're at the very end of our discussion on the Making Differences Matter article that we read, and then we're going to go into our Doohickey's assignment, because that's due next week.
Yeah.
So, so the last part, well, almost last part on this is that Elder Ballard described a church council, and he said the ward council he described followed the integration paradigm. So, and then wants us to talk about that.
Okay. I think he was first of all telling us about his profession. He and the father was working at the automobile, and in fact, I think he has an idea about this diversity. So actually, it's all about how we can be able to mingle, how we can be able to manage everyone, and forget about that discrimination. I'm actually learning. I'm learning a lot, and maybe from your contribution, I will also be happy to hear you.
Great. All right.
Sorry, I did not come early, but
No, it's fine.
It was
You're
just
great.
about catching up. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other thoughts about the counseling being? Anyone? The next question is, what are the advantages to a bishop of counseling with the Elders Quorum president, Relief Society president, primary president, and others? What is the advantage of that?
Perspective. I think we all have it.
Yeah, I think it's about that intellectual diversity, and when you have a team of people like that, the bishop isn't supposed to do everything himself. He delegates, and everybody brings something. They bring something to the table, but they also, each person, has different understandings of the people they work with. It's like the Elders Quorum knows of the problems and the things that are going on there, and the same with the Relief Society. They know a lot of people who are struggling or need help with certain things, and the bishop himself might not know about those things. So.
Yeah. I was involved in a ward council I just stepped in as a substitute for a Relief Society president once, and I was overwhelmed in this particular council. I was overwhelmed by the knowledge that group had of the people that they were responsible for, that they had stewardship over. I was just blown away by the amount of love and concern that these leaders had and the knowledge they had of the lives of the people that they had stewardship over. It was really amazing to me, and I was so appreciative of that, because I felt like, having not seen that before, that it was a good place to be. It was really nice. And I feel like the bishop had a lot to do, our bishop at that time had a lot to do with that, but it was really, really neat to see that. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think it's very, very true. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, John.
I think this situation at the Ward Council is very, very, very important, and it's actually helping individuals. In fact, a very long time it has actually helping us as an individual. I remember a certain time, then though I was then presiding over that Ward Council, I was serving as a bishop, and there is a boy that I noticed on one particular Sunday. The dress and everything was just like, we need to help him. So at the Ward Council, I brought this, even before the Ward Council, I think I met with the young man president to talk about this boy. So we carried the same message, the same situation to the Ward Council. In fact, the way and manner the brothers actually decided to, at least everybody want to do something to help the poor. Some decide to buy a shoe, a trouser, the white shirt. In fact, at the end of the day, when the council was over, we thought that we have been able to get enough money so we can actually buy something for the poor. In fact, the next Sunday, as soon as all of us, we noticed the boy, we got to know that he has totally changed, and is in a correct mood, and now he will be, happy to pass the sacrament and maybe also to bless the sacrament. So Ward Council have helped individuals a lot, because it's the place that we normally decide even who to be helped in the family and how the family is actually feeling. So as we continue to do this, I believe we're going to be like coming together. This discrimination of a thing will not be there. If we can be able to organize this Ward Council or the State Council very much effective, I believe we can come as a team and will be prepared to help each other, because if you don't love that person, I don't think you can be able to help him or her. So I believe we can all be involved, and as it says, we can get our blessing out of whatever contribution that we can make. Okay.
Thanks, John. That was great.
Thank
Anybody
you.
else? Anyone else? All right. So to wrap up about this whole thing, do you agree or disagree that there are advantages to promoting diversity in the workplace? This is one of those questions that I feel like, duh. But
yeah, obviously there's advantages because we all have different strengths that we bring to the table, and we all have different experiences. And if you have a good manager who can incorporate the group and help them to work as one, then it just brings more things that you can do as a team and as a group.
Great.
No, I think that's great, and it's really important with creativity, and kind of what was just mentioned about how we can learn from each other. If somebody knows how to do something really well, I mean, they're gonna teach, or the other person's gonna see how they do it, and you know, it just makes everything go faster.
Yeah. Great. So what approach, the last question, what approach would you take to diversity as a manager? So I'll just start real quick, and my approach is kind of what I've been saying this whole time, is just that I feel like it's a common sense thing that we accept and love everybody for who they are, and not necessarily, and I do think in business it's important to hire people that can do the job that needs to be done, and that shouldn't matter what they look like, and that they should be bringing their personal experiences, their life experiences with them, because that's what makes them good for that job. So I feel like as a manager, that would be my kind of goal as far as diversity goes, is just to make sure that everybody gets feels like they're important and included. Anyone else?
I agree with that, but I feel like that you have to make sure that there's a culture that allows people's experiences to matter. Because sometimes you can bring in diverse people that don't feel comfortable, like they feel threatened somehow sharing, you know, what they feel like should really happen.
Yeah. Anyone else?
My thought was, I was thinking it should really start from the job interview, that they understand the person's culture and kind of their strengths and their weaknesses, and know how to place them, and also kind of communicate, you know, from the beginning that, you know, we're accepting of you, and we want you to grow and achieve, and your feedback is important to us. So I thought that was a important thing that from the article.
Great. John or Shelley, anything to add?
Well, I was just thinking.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Well, I was thinking, having been in on a little bit of the hiring process on side things, really be able to understand somebody's culture right from the get-go. You know, unless you're already really familiar with it. But you can, you know, be open to those things, and you can, I mean, when you're looking at a resume and you know, you've got a page of information about a person, and then you have a 30-minute interview, there's limitations to can be, but you can be open, getting to know that person and letting them know that you're interested in who they are and, you know, what they bring to the table.
Great. John, did you have anything to add? John, did you have anything?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. In fact, from the things that we've gone through this very week, I think we found out that we've talked much about, like what Benjamin said, that it can actually start from the job interview. I also I'm quite getting it, but what I will add to it is that most of the times I think that this program actually comes mostly from the leadership of the company, that particular company or the organization that you want to hire you. From all the messages that we've been getting, all the readings that we've done, we got to know that most of them is coming from the leadership. So the leadership then trying to bring that gap between the employee and the employees. And when it comes to that, because the leadership are doing that, somehow as an employee, you don't have that power, you don't have authority. So it's the company to the law courts. So just as we are now, we are also learning to become the leadership in whatever. It can happen in the church, it can happen outside. So all the things that we always look, we don't have to look down upon those who are behind us. We are all equal, and we can treat them as we want others to treat them as you like. So for what I want to know, is it just as I said, our area here, it doesn't come just like that. We try to make things in the level form, and well, I'm getting it. I'm trying to absorb what I'm reading and learning, but I think it's cool for me, so I can also learn a certain things over here. That is it.
Great. Good points. I appreciate that. Anyone else? Anything they want to add before we start talking about our Doohickey case? Okay. All right. So the end of next week, we have a paper due that we all have to coordinate writing and submitting. Does everybody have in front of them the 4 questions that we have to answer?
I do.
Okay. So we have to identify HR issues and problems based on what we've learned in the past 3 lessons, which are the strategic HR management lesson, teams and performance appraisals, and equal opportunity law and diversity. So with those 3 things in mind, identify issues and problems with the Doohickey case. Secondly, we have to choose 3 of those problems and write a paragraph on each problem in detail. Then for each of those problems, we have to come up with 4 possible solutions. For each one, that's 12 solutions in total. Write a paragraph describing each 12 of the solutions. Explain specifically what we would do, how we would do it, refer to the readings for support. Then, in light of all the problems and solutions we identified, explain what is most important to focus on. And there's a whole bunch there too. So it's kind of a bigger assignment than I thought it was going to be, just saying. I feel like right now we have about 10, maybe 15 minutes. We should probably identify the issues and problems and try to brainstorm some solutions for those. Is everybody up for that?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. And then I feel like maybe what we should do is, well, let's do that, and then we'll see where we're at. So we have to come up with 3 problems or solutions. Did everybody read the case?
Yeah.
Okay. it's a mess.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff you could pick out.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Yeah, it's like only 3 problems.
Right. So what do you guys think are the biggest ones?
Management is
Well,
like they're all white, middle class. They're all related to each other. They aren't promoted from within. That all in itself is a big issue.
Right. Right. And
Yeah,
and
they
following
don't.
on the heels of that is that the president of the company yells about how lazy and unmotivated his employees are, and then promotes only from outside. And like it's all connected right there, that management issue. So
yeah, totally.
3 problems just right there. Anybody else?
Well, I really think we have to address the sexual harassment.
Yeah.
Because that's going to get the company sued. So to me, that's like a huge problem that we have to address, because, like I said, that's the one where against them.
Yep, I agree. Okay, and that's on the 7th day paragraph, right?
Yeah.
The 7th day.
Yeah.
Can we make that one of our 3 for sure?
Is that
What were you gonna say, Angela?
I was gonna say I was trying to think if we had covered that in our.
We have not.
That's why I'm wondering
but-
if we could cover it, because it doesn't say it has to be within the stuff that we've already learned about.
Right. It does say that we should, let's see, what does it say? Refer to the readings. Where did I read that? So it doesn't, we have not covered sexual harassment, but we have covered equal opportunity and diversity, which there is a little bit there. And then team performance and appraisals. I think we should discuss it. I think even though we haven't covered it specifically, we should discuss it.
Okay.
Is everybody on board with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so management issues, do we want to narrow it down?
Well, there's 2 parts of the management issue. There's the part where they're not being able to be promoted from within, and there's no diversity, and they're coming from outside. But the other part of the management, like you said, was there's no motivation, and they're being talked down to, they're being yelled at, they're being, threatened that they're going to move the company out of. I mean, there's a lot in. I think those are 2 different issues. It's management, but they're different.
There's the management issue of who they are, and then it's the top-down problems as well.
Yeah, and the fact that the pay scale and the limited vacation, I think it's a benefits issue as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we've really covered that appropriately to.
Yeah, we haven't done that either. Anybody else?
No, I agree with all this. I think one of them that maybe we could choose is hiring practices. It talks about how he hires mostly from word of mouth, so probably his white friends, the white guys.
Yeah.
And that they don't use any type of like internet search, or they don't really look at qualifications, is what I was getting from it, like they should. So I think that's one of the big roots of the problem is their hiring practices.
Yeah, and with the hiring practices, they actually don't have anything that is from one part of the company to the other. Nothing is standard. So one part hires in a certain way, and another one does something completely different. So there's no cohesiveness in their practices.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think I also get into that is from the management to the factory workers, that the cordial relationship between the 2. See, if these 2 are not working together, I don't think the production will be much more as they want it to be, because maybe where the factory workers are, as we saying, the white management and maybe you can see other nationalities at the workplace. So between them, there's a gap. So it's always bringing like a low productivity, because they feel they always want to separate themselves from the factory workers.
Yeah, a management versus the workers problem. Yeah, and along with that is the big order of lanyards that they got. There's the output is not there, and the management feels like it's the workers problem when it could be actually a factory issue. So okay, we need to narrow it down a little bit. Hiring practices for sure.
Yeah.
Do we feel like we can come up with 4 solutions to that?
Yeah.
Yeah. What specific management issues? Management versus workers, factory output because of management, hiring. Well, no, we talked about hiring. Diversity issue.
Yeah, I mean their salaries too, the payments. Sometimes you'll be paid less, even if, because you have to be promoted before maybe you can get the increments in your salary. But since that promotion is not coming, it means you continue to receive that same salary for a very long time.
So salary issues as well there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Salary and I think benefits too. There's got to be some motivation for the employee to perform well.
Okay. So do we want to narrow it down to salary and benefits issues?
Yeah.
Can we come up with 4 solutions for that?
I'm not sure. We haven't really covered that. I think we need to really focus on the diversity part, the diversity in management, because we have covered that in our reading, you know?
Okay.
I think that's
so you'd rather do that then?
Well, I think there's so many problems in this that if we don't pick the ones that we've already I think there's so much in here that we could really find ourselves way off.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so diversity in management, hiring practices, and the sexual harassment, or management versus workers, or salary and benefits. Any other ideas?
Do you think the diversity in management is part of the hiring process problems, though?
It is.
The problem?
Well, there's part of it, but not all of it.
Can we come up with
concerned that we have to come up with 4
possible solutions? Can we come up with 4 for management, diversity in management, and hiring practices?
I think so. I think that they're separate issues, although they are connected, you know.
Shelley, what do you feel?
What if we tackled the diversity aspect more in terms of relationships? You know, like it was talking about in the reading, that Harvard one that we had to read, that was talking about the integration paradigm. If we
I'm sorry, so tackle the diversity in management as far as hiring, so make that 1?
Well, no, if we use where we talked about instead, if we talk about it in terms of the assimilation paradigm or the differentiation paradigm, then it's a separate issue too. I think we could talk about it that way.
Okay. So diversity in management and hiring practices are both a yes from everybody?
Okay.
Yes?
Yeah.
John?
Yeah.
Benjamin?
Yes.
I think that's good.
So we need 1 more. So we need 1 more issue or problem to solve. We have just the management versus workers was something we talked about. The sexual harassment.
Yeah, we don't have to go with this, but I think everything could be summarized into 1, company culture, 2 is hiring practices, and 2 is like legal violations with the sexual harassment.
And the other one is the physical abilities. That is disability among the workers. If somebody is unable, I think that the treatment is also somehow not good. Disability, physical,
so
that is physical abilities, how you can cope with like even most of the times in our various workplaces, we can see that those who are in the wheelchairs, like our area like this, mostly when they are building the company buildings and other things, they don't even consider them. So how are they going to take the wheelchair to the maybe the second or the third floor of that building? So it's all about that discrimination, because you can't just know that somebody who is working with you and the person is on the crutches. How is he or he going to get to the top? And it's about the discrimination that we're doing. So if anything at all, you have to, create a way of helping that disability personnel to get, to be involved in all the things that we do. So
I don't really remember that being in this Doohickey. I thought that was one of the cases we read from a different thing. I don't remember.
I think what you're saying, John, if I understand you right, you're saying that in the Doohickey case, there is a physical limitations on their workers that they're not abiding by? Because I don't remember that either.
Yeah, it's one of those cases that we read. And
okay. So not
the sister even took the company to court. It's all about physical disabilities.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. I remember reading that.
It does say here. It says after Christmas, you'll have to lay everyone off you hire. The supervisor tells you not to hire any women because most of them can't lift more than 25 pounds to perform their jobs adequately. So that is part of the case.
I feel like that falls under hiring practices, though. That's what I was. Yeah, that's what I was just going to say to John too. Is I remember that case, and I feel like same for the Doohickey case. But for me, that falls under hiring practices.
Yeah,
I think you're right. Yeah, that would give us another thing we could address too.
You are right.
Okay, so we just need a third item, a third problem that we can agree on.
What do we have?
Diversity in management and hiring practices.
So, to like the legal discrimination issues, because you're right, Angela, we haven't really covered it much in class, but was the manager or brought in to do this, that would be the one that I would feel like was the most pressing. But
what issue is that? I'm sorry, I missed what you said.
Sexual harassment and issues of
the legal stuff.
Issues of discrimination. The legal stuff OSHA? I think is really important.
Like the OSHA incident?
Well,
like the safety incident?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah, we have a safety incident. We have the unfair firing issue. We have the sexual harassment issue. I think we could deal with the legal issues that are going to but enough that it would count.
Can we narrow down legal issues to maybe just the safety issue? Because there's probably 4 ways that we could fix that.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
Anybody else? Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely 4 things we could outline and discuss. And
okay, so our 3 issues or problems are the safety issue, hiring practices, and diversity in management.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we want to spend another couple minutes, or we want to be done and come back to this another time?
Well, I'd like to kind of see who feels strongly about which issue, and maybe we could kind of divide it up a little bit.
Okay, so that we can so that we can come back with 4 for each one when we talk again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
so that we have
so that working separately.
Okay, so since there's 5 of us, splitting it up, 3 of them is a little bit different. Does anybody have any strong feelings that they want to take one of them on?
I think what if we each take 2? That way we have a diversity in opinions for each one.
Okay, and then we can pick 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
We
even
can
if
pick
there's
4 solutions from what we can all come up with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, what do you want to take? Anybody?
I don't care. So I would like to do safety and the diversity in management.
Okay, Angela. Sorry, I'm writing as fast as I can. Benjamin, do you have any preferences?
I think I could do hiring practices.
Okay, and one other?
Like I thought there was like 3 of them. Like
well,
3.
there is. If we each work on 2, then we'll have a variety of answers when we come back.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So even if you came up with 2 or 3 solutions to that particular problem, somebody else will have another 2 or 3, and we can pick which ones we want to include in our paper.
Yeah, I guess I'll do the legal violations too.
So safety issues?
Yeah.
Okay. John?
Anything for me? Or I have to contribute? How many? I still. Are there anything that I have to do now?
Okay. Do you have any preferences, Shelley?
I guess I'd like to work on diversity and management and the hiring.
Okay. I would like to work on the safety issue and the hiring practices. So, John, will you work on diversity and management?
Okay. That'll be fine.
Huh?
It's okay.
Okay. And then that's 3 of us on each one unless John wants to take another.
I think that'll give us that'll give us an option to different ideas.
Perfect. Okay, so then we need to come up with 12 solutions for each one. If we each come up with 2 or 3, that should be enough to come up with 12 for each one. When we meet again, we'll decide what solutions we want to talk about, and then we have to. It says describe. Let's see. The portion of the paper should include deep reflection and application of the content studied in class as it informs the problem and the solution. So we still have a lot of work to do, and it is due at the end of next week. Is that correct?
Yep.
That's right.
If we meet on Thursday of next week, does that give us enough time to finish up?
That would be fine.
Maybe I'm jumping the gun, or I like to be like done early. If we all message the new group leader with our parts, I don't know, like Saturday, that gives us a head start.
What if we did like a Google Share thing that where everybody kind of contributes some ideas of the different, so that we can see them throughout the week? And because if we're all coming up with the same ideas, we're going to be struggling.
That's great. How about if I start a Google Doc then, and I'll include all of you, and we'll put our ideas on that. And then before we meet again, maybe through that Google Doc, we can decide on 4 each.
I think let's make it a conversation as we go on that Google Doc.
Right? Because there is a place you can kind of text back and forth or whatever. Does that
and
work
comment.
for everyone?
Usually a comment thing.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Does that work for everyone?
Yeah, that would be fine.
I think so.
Okay.
It will work.
And then as we do that, maybe add your ideas and your thoughts down below so that we can come up with that last portion of the paper that needs to be kind of our understanding of the class readings and the discussions and all of that.
So
okay?
Is there just one person that's turning this in?
I believe so,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And when I send out the link for this video, I will include a link for a Google Doc where we can start working on that. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Have you guys already decided on a group leader for next week?
Nobody has said it yet. Any volunteers?
I will do it. Yeah, I'll do it.
Angela, great. And same time?
Yeah.
Okay, so 3:30 Mountain Time on Thursday.
Great.
Yes?
Yep.
Yeah.
And Angela will be the leader. And you know how to do the Hangout, Angela? You've got that?
Yeah, well, I hope so.
All right. Well, let me know if you need help with it, and I'll walk you through it again. All right.
Hopefully.
Okay.
I'll make a test run and just see how it goes.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Okay.
If I can do it, you can do it. It can be done. All right. Everybody's happy? Everybody got to say what they needed to say?
Yep. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
All right. I will see you all next week. I'll send out a link as soon as I can.
All right.
Have
Thanks.
a great weekend, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Okay.